So Kahoot, I noticed that a few people that might be the younger half of the room already had their phones out and were working towards it, and some others might not have. I just learned about this. So Kahoot is a place where you can go and you can make little quizzes like this right here. So what you're invited to do right now in these minutes is to pull out your phone and go online on your phone, just like this says right here, to kahoot.it, and you'll get a chance to enter that game pin number. And when you do, we'll have our players tally up over there. And when we get a handful of players, we'll start. So our little quiz is going to involve some different things, including some of the information we've received over the last 2 days. Just a little bit.
I think he's in cahoots with you.
All right, let's roll. Let's roll before something else happens.
Bill, did you sign up?
All right, Bill, we just started. 12-question quiz. Are you ready? All right. Your players are running a doubles round robin with 20 players. How many courts will you need? Click the appropriate one. You have 20 seconds. You get more points the faster you answer.
What was the question?
You're running a doubles round robin with 20 players. How many courts will you need? All right. So, I love it. 6 people answered it right. The answer is 5 because 4 people on a court, 5 courts, that makes 20. You had to start with something easy. All right, number 2. There's our scoreboard. All right. According to Scott Mitchell, which of the following elements is not part of red ball class?
I think Scott missed it.
Good. I never said that, MJ. Very good. Scott here?
Yes.
There he is. I re-asked this morning to make sure I wasn't screwing it up too bad, right? Baseline game, the serve and the return game, and then with the 10s.
Baseline and return.
With the 10s, we started with.
Look at him, man.
He wasn't brute, I promise.
All
It
right.
is possible to check it on this.
All right, Jackson, leading the show. All right, according to Dr. Sean Drake, which of the following is not one of the 4 dials that we read?
Everyone's saying it out loud.
Way to go. So emotional is wrong. What was the 4th? Anybody remember?
Psychical, mental, physical, and equipment.
Well, I knew that. I was hoping somebody else would.
Oh, sorry. Just trying to help you guys. Equipment?
Equipment, yeah.
At least he knew the answer.
Andy, is that you? All right.
We collaborated.
All right, according to Dr. Sean Drake, which of the following is not one of the 3 physical screenings?
That's so funny. You listen to my master's class.
Did Bill miss that one?
No, I got this one.
Okay. All right, they were all taught and taught very well. All right, Taylor Dent achieved a career-high ATP rank of. Now, did he tell us that, or did I just get that from him? Okay, I got that out of him. Well, good guessing, everybody. All right, which of the following were coaches of Taylor Dent? He did mention these yesterday. So you're clicking all that were.
You only click one.
So there can be more than one answer here. All right, I'm not sure really how that one worked. Oh, there we go. So did some people put Patrick Rafter? Obviously, you know, he mentioned that that he got Rafter as coach one time because he liked how he played and he wanted to get some of those secrets for how he did it. All right, here we go. Thanks to Bill this morning. Why did Craig Signorelli become a tennis coach? Very good. Be good, Bill. All right. Which USPTA publication is printed in the back of Tennis Industry magazine? Very good. Who wrote So You Want to Be a Tennis Director in the August issue of Advantage? It's on page 44 if you have it. Love it, man. Mass respect for Pat Whitworth. That's awesome.
That was.
Pat was smarter than that.
It was really, if you have it sitting around and you don't typically read them, or you just get to it when you get to it, I looked at it once and said, I'm not going to read it. And then I got to it again, and then I had to read it twice. So it's a worthwhile 8 minutes. It was good. All right, next. According to Kevin Theos, what year did USTA Southern introduce Adult Combo League? (2001). All right, we're going to try again. According to Kevin Theos, what year did USTA Southern introduce Adult Tri-Level League? Tri-Level. Some of us might not have even ever had Tri-Level. Way to go.
It's a miracle.
All right, where are we at on
31
this?
points behind Jenny Robb.
So DB is leading the show in Canada A. It's in there, tell you, okay. Ready? Last one. In 2001, USTA Southern had 156,000 members. How many members in 2017? You can reread that if you like.
Only
So-
5,000 in 16 years?
It's just data. I'm not here to talk about the rise and the fall of
Why do you
our
think that
USTA
is,
numbers.
then,
Not my goal. However, he gave me the years from 2001 to 2006 and 2013. 2006 was the year Tri-Level came in, and we had bumped up to 171 by 2013, which is when 18s and 40s came into happening, we were up to 176. So really that decline from 176 to 161 has happened in the last 3 years.
We're getting old.
Bigger.
Okay, so let's see how we finished.
No.
DB with 10 out of 12. Way to go, DB.
No questions.
$20 Starbucks for you. All
He's
right.
too young to drink coffee.
Getting them stones burned.
It'll be good for the drive-in though. Yes.
I am done with that.
That's Canadian dollars though.
Well, that's,
Yeah, oh yeah.
So, I had some other questions on there that would have been fun. Questions about SETIO. Does anybody know what SETIO is? Just a random question for the test. I only know because it's on our USPTA partnership kind of screen. I don't make enough use of it. But did you know that SETIO offers cryptocurrency? I have no idea how a tennis vehicle is going to do that, but I thought that was pretty interesting, and that, hopefully that would have tripped up everybody, but we didn't do it. Okay, so I'm MJ Garnett, and I told you that I thought this was a fantastic set of speakers that we had the last couple of days. And what I think is really, really amusing is I come to these events to gather it all. And when I'm around and I spend time talking to the different speakers that are here, the scope at which most of these people operates is so much beyond me. You know, when we hear of a program in Michigan that's got all these courts and all these pros and generating all this revenue, the thing about the club's Tim's run and the way that he is inspiring us about really aggressive business practice. I receive all that information and I get excited, and then I think, okay, but I'm the mid-sized club guy, and that's who I am. So it's comical that it's my turn now to tell you, hey, these are my approaches to what we do. But I can tell you this, I've heard it echoed by some of our speakers already, that at every phase of the game, whether it's teaching on court or playing or business acumen or whatever the case may be, there's somebody in here that I've got one up on. And there's a lot of people in here that have one up on me. And the point of that is that we all have things to share and things that we can take from one another. So I know that the ways that I run operations and the things that I've done, they're mine. And they're not always going to mesh with what's yours, but we're going to share them together anyway. So Bill asked about longevity and success. And so the questions, of course, are, longevity. Well, that means a long time. And my question that I think is interesting is does longevity equal success? So if somebody is in the industry for a long time, does that make them successful? There's got to be at least one level at which you would say, well, they're still living and they're feeding themselves. So if that qualifies as success, then yes. But outside of that, not necessarily. And in fact, longevity at one place certainly doesn't mean that you're successful. Some of you are wired to not stay at one place. Either the challenges that come forth, like this job's not challenging me anymore, I want to move to a different job. Or you take a job and it's not the ideal place, so you don't really have an intention of being there. You know that the next step is coming. I had a guy work for me one time who was phenomenal, possibly one of the best instructors I've ever had, and he killed it for 18 solid months, and then his family said, this is not working, and so they moved. I mean, just like that, because his family wasn't happy enough, and that was the right thing to do. So when we look at longevity and success, what are some measures of success? Anybody? What's an obvious measure of success?
Retention. Retaining players.
Okay, retaining players. Good. What's another measure of success?
Money.
Money, absolutely. Money. What's another thing that would cause you to be successful?
Affirmation.
Absolutely.
Balance.
Balance. Good. Some people are motivated by the achievements, by the challenges, certainly by the money, by the balance. Success might be comfort to somebody. And we would think about ways that comfort is possibly the enemy of drive, of achieving. But if those are the things that qualify as success, one of the elements that will lead you to be successful over a long period is finding the right pond to swim in. That's my Andy Griffith reference for you, okay? I'm more Andy than I am Bill Gates. So Andy would tell you to swim in the right pond. And what he means by that is, why would you get in over your head? Now, if you are building your career challenge upon challenge, then you may want to get in over your head for the purpose of learning to swim and building yourself in that way. But I was talking to somebody earlier, and he was describing hiring from within on his large staff. And he said that he had a position come open, and several of his staff members wanted to apply for that position. And he had to explain to them that none of them were qualified for that position, even though they were presently on his staff. So his response to them was, for your own benefit, I can't give you that job because you're not ready to swim in that pond. But I'll help you learn to swim stronger and be able to be in that pond. So finding that right pond may not happen on your first try, may not happen on your second try, but if the goal is longevity, balance, success, happiness, then that pond's out there. And for me, that pond has to deal with a place where I can provide quality product to members who have an expectation that we can sustain that quality of product for them, for our management, and for me. And the way I bring that up that way is that if my people or my members or my consumers, if they have an expectation that I'm going to work at a level that is unsustainable, then that will not be a pond that I can continue to swim in. I will have to find a way to hire more people or to change ponds. So, question is for you, what are some things that you think of that are either totally normal or surprising to others that would make your pond the place to be? What is it about where you currently are, if you're in that kind of spot, that you say, I love my job for this reason? Anybody got any?
Relationships?
Relationships. Dustin? Is that you?
Yeah.
Yeah, very good. Tell me, what you enjoy the people you're working with?
Yeah, with and for.
So is that members that take care of you? Do nice things for you, or they just say nice things and treat you well?
No, it's probably a little deeper than that. Just watching their game grow. I mean, they go through different things in life. And, most of us here have long-term students. People that have been at the same time, same day for years.
Right.
And so we watch them go through different phases in their games. But then you get to know them as people. They go through things in their lives. Obviously, there are boundaries associated with that as well, but you get to know them, so you're personally invested in their growth. And then obviously the co-workers, yeah, as well.
The Forbes answer for success, when they interview all of the very wealthy, rich, and famous, very few of them have answers that involve money. Of course, I always ask, does that mean because they've attained it? And that's not exactly the first on their list now. But relationships is what a lot of them talk about as well. That has what they want to do. All right. Well, so you know what pond you want to swim in, but now you've got to build your pond, or you got to fortify it or form it. So what I mean by that is, you're at a place, and now we could be talking structure. What are the things that you pitch your club or your community? What are the things that you try to gain in terms of facility improvements, or what have you gained since you've come here? Like, for example, we're in this. But Dustin, was this always this?
No,
So you've been here 18 years?
yeah, 19.
19 years. So that's longevity and success. What's some of the changes that have happened here since you've been here?
We've done a lot. It sort of started with infrastructure, improving things that weren't as cosmetically pleasing. So things like retaining walls outside and leaky roofs, things like that need to be repaired. And then I'll tell you, so we just did a 1.8 million at the Town Center renovation here. But it's something we've been chipping away at. I mean, it didn't just come. And really the only reason we got any credibility tennis, with the greater club, was that our program grew, and the relationships, grew, and so we just started to have a little more clout in the club as a whole. But then, so all this is an addition. Everything we're sitting in currently didn't exist. The office wall went down. New indoor court lights that pay for themselves, so there's efficiency there. The list is long. Hydro courts, resurfacing the hard courts. So, I would just say that a growing program, something that you can actually provide data on, plus the people to back it up. You have people who use the program, but also people who are willing to be vocal about your program and testimonies. So that's a good place to be.
Good.
Help you get things done like this.
Well, it's beautiful.
Or something like, maybe not like this, but you get the idea.
Sure. So I heard a number, $1.8 million. Have any of you not had a project at the place where you currently teach that equaled $1.8 million? I didn't ask who has had some type of improvement or renovation that was $1.8 million or more, but who in the room has not experienced a $1.8 million some type of improvement to the place where they're at? I never have. Okay? So, for example, that's awesome. I don't know that I'll ever experience a $1.8 million, but it sure is beautiful. Congratulations.
Thank you. I didn't think I would ever experience either.
Yeah, that's great. So, when I got a job, it worked this way. I was 27 and I was an assistant pro in Memphis. Got a call from a new owner of a country club, one single owner. So right away, I'm defining possibly a much different scenario than most people in the room. A country club with a one-man single owner. So there might be one or two of you, but of all the different opportunities there can be, that was mine. So we came in, and I had 8 outdoor courts and no business. It was nothing happening. And he asked me, MJ, what do we need to do? And I was from South Florida, and all I really knew about was clay courts. I had no idea about the indoor business and that was important. But somebody smarter than me in town said, MJ, don't get clay courts, get indoor courts. And I said, okay. And sure enough, I think they were right. So we got 3 indoor courts. What it really was an old, nasty 3-quart bubble from a club in Kansas City that was about to throw theirs away. And I repelled and riveted and come all over that thing to get it ready for people to work in. And that became what we did to improve our pond. So we got a pond. We worked on our pond. We've got to stock your pond now. All right, so I can't swim in it all by myself. My objective or my goal is to gain more members or at least more players. So Dustin, did this lead to an instant increase in play, or was it simply an improved product for those that did play?
This has only been finished for a couple of weeks.
Okay.
I would actually say the growth of the program led to this, and slow improvement over time.
Right.
Led to the sort of the bigger.
So will you be able to tell by data if your play picks up from this point going forward, and use that as further justification for?
Yes, and I think already we're seeing maybe an increase in play, but certainly an increase in the length of time people stay here. So for instance, when they're done playing, they stick around, they have a bite to eat, they have a drink, they socialize. So the atmosphere has bred sort of a different culture, even in the last 2 weeks. How long? So people don't play and leave, they play and stay.
So, what are some membership ideas? With Dustin, we were working on this improved facility and what that did for membership ideas. But what are some methods, tried or failed, of membership or customer increase that any of you have tried? You know, what have you done in an effort to you know, you could say it's marketing, but what programs or things have you done with the objective of, yes, we need a membership drive, we need a campaign, or I need more customers, I need to offer this different kind of program? Any examples of anybody for what you've done, failed or succeeded?
Probably benefits for current members to bring in new members.
Okay.
Whether you know, reduction in their rate or some kind of bonus or something for them to go out and sell the club to their friends.
And did that succeed?
Yes.
So did you do a rate reduction? Is that something?
I've worked at commercial clubs, I've worked at country clubs and different things. And
Right.
probably had the most success in a commercial club.
And
we did like a 2-for-1 membership,
right.
annual membership fee in that particular club I was at.
And so did that necessarily help existing members, or that was for, you know, two
Yeah.
people thinking about getting in?
Well, if you brought somebody in, you got half price.
You did, okay. Very good. Well, when I got this new job as a 27-year-old, I didn't know anything about any of that. But sometimes good fortune is really what it amounts to. Good fortune for me was just having the job, because prior to that I had been looking at assistant coaching college jobs in very small towns throughout the South, and my new wife, who'd never been away from home other than church youth camp, probably would not have handled that very well. So it was really, really great that this job came along. Well, on top of that, it was really, really great that Windike Country Club in Memphis, Tennessee, was at that time a 1,600 family club, which made it the biggest in the Memphis area by far. So there was a market right there that wasn't playing tennis that was available. It was a family-built club, and it was located on the side of town that was growing. So all the demographics were working in my favor, and I say all I had to do was successfully offer programming. Now, that's intentionally selling myself short, because if I had stunk at it, it wouldn't have mattered, okay? But I didn't have to engage in membership type ideas or drives. We were just simply at a point in time where there is a need in the marketplace, and it was growing, and I was the right guy to come in, and it worked. So for us, that's how it went. In addition to that, I just got this indoor bubble, and I needed to fill it. And I didn't have enough tennis players right away, and so I have an owner who's saying, show me the money. You know, we've got to provide this programming. So, as it happens, where we're located, adjacent to us are these towns, Germantown and Collierville, and they are for Memphis, the wealthier suburbs. They were growing, and the town of Collierville, as it turns out, had 26,000 people in it, and tennis courts with no tennis pro. So, I added to my pond. I walked over to the shallow end, and I took 1 foot, and I stepped into Collierville, and I said, I'll provide your programming for you. And my club owner had no problems with it. He said, MJ, I need you to run my club in the way that you see fit. And so the way I saw fit was, great, I'm going to offer junior programming on days that I'm not doing it at Windike. I'm going to offer it in the town of Collierville with my same staff. And I'm going to offer a few adult classes. And my primary purpose was not revenue from those classes, although that helped. I wanted a feeder. I wanted a feeder of juniors to our club junior program. I needed people to take instructional programming on top of my membership base that wasn't big enough yet. And so what did we do? We recruited all those people on space available basis to come in, fill our programs, and it worked, and they joined, and we grew. So that worked. So that was, you know, how we stocked our pond. But then the question would be, how do you serve your pond? All right. So what are the programs that you offer? So I know we have junior classes and we have ladies teams, and we do the things that most all of us do. Does anybody have something even remotely out of the box that's different, at least in your area even, that's different that you do that would be program or serving your group? Jack.
This is a little different, but you're talking about a program on tennis courts. And I was the tennis director at a club in New England. And we used to turn the horse arena into an ice hockey rink. So that was done. We used to do very innovative things. And my club was at the base of a ski slope and a ski resort. So that was sort of cool. It's like, well, we've got this number every night on our tennis courts. How can we increase our number on the indoor courts because we have a long winter? We came up with the idea of soccer. So we had soccer from 4 o'clock until 11 o'clock on Tuesday evening, and those courts generated so much money, it was unbelievable.
So you had soccer on the indoor
We took
courts.
down all the tennis nets
Yeah.
and moved back all the wind screens, all the screening, and we had a soccer field there. So we had an hour of soccer and an hour of soccer and an hour of soccer and an hour of soccer. We had teams coming in. We
On
had
the indoor
players
courts?
On the indoor courts.
And what, did you put
One
something
rule
down?
was don't slide.
So you didn't put anything down over the courts? They were
No.
playing on cement?
We're playing on indoor tennis.
Yeah,
courts.
okay, okay.
Yeah. Had
That's
referees
excellent.
there, the whole thing, but we were making tons of money.
That's a good thing. And you had people there enjoying
Well,
themselves.
yeah, we had people there, we had people cheering, the restaurant was full, the bar was, they were drinking. The adults were inebriated at night, but the parents were making sure the kids didn't go to the bar during the afternoon. But from 4 until 11 o'clock, it was totally.
We did a league called Tennis on Tap. There's an area of town where a lot of local breweries were all located pretty close to each other. And we just set it up for 8 weeks. You didn't have to sign up for 8 weeks. You could play one time, or you could play as much as you wanted. There was no commitment. And we just used a pop-up net and red balls or foam balls, and it would take up 2 parking places at the brewery. And we people would have teams, and we'd just have a board like that and make a draw and have people play. And it was all doubles, and it was a blast.
At the end of your 8 weeks, do you know how many of those folks stayed? You know, was it an event that was good that they would look forward to next year, or did it translate into more stuff?
Yeah, people wanted to do it again. You know, it was an experiment because we wanted to reach a group of people that weren't already playing tennis.
Right.
And we were wondering if that was going to transition into, do we want to start taking the traditional lessons and clinics and start, playing USTA League or something. And it didn't turn into that. They had fun doing what they were doing and wanted to keep doing that.
Is it still on? Does it still happen?
Yeah, we're doing it again, yeah.
That's great. Tim.
One of the issues we had was we had people would come and play tennis, and then people would go and use the gym, and there was people would come to the gyms who never had any aspirations to play tennis, and all the tennis players that didn't ever go to the gym. So we have a class called Fit to Hit, and it's 45 minutes, where it's 90 minutes in length. 45 minutes is basically kind of cardio tennis, give or take, I suppose. And then the latter 40, so there's 2 groups, I'm not explaining this very well, sorry. So let's say there's 12 people, right? The coach, the tennis coach, has to sign up 6 tennis players. The personal trainer has to sign up 6 newbies that want to try something different, right? So they have the relationship already, so we can get that bit achieved. The first 45 minutes, the 6 players that the personal trainer signed up, they come on the tennis court and basically kind of do a beginner's cardio tennis, right? And then the last 45, they go and work out with their trainer that they already have their relationship with. While they're doing that, the tennis group are doing a higher level workout cardio tennis, and then they go spend 45 minutes in the gym with the trainer. So you've got 12 people, you've got 6 and 6, 12 people in the class, but 6 on a court at any given time and 2 groups that switch. What it does is, which was just cured an age-long issue we had, was getting the interaction, the dialogue better between the tennis and the fitness, and having those two interchange. We've seen that be real successful. You know, converting people then into tennis memberships and so on and so forth,
Right.
and getting personal training revenue up by having trainers like tennis people who are usually pretty slow and see the benefit of it.
I think Scott gave me a very similar story with working on the trainers earlier today, right? That you had succeeded at some point with trainers bringing people in to...
Very similar to what Tim was saying. So when I started at the club that I'm at now, we had our cardio classes were using yellow balls. And so we wanted to switch those back to the orange balls and really target market that group that typically is a tennis nut looking for a change, similar to what Tim's saying, that weren't coming to our facilities already. So by changing the ball, then we started reaching out to the trainers in our fitness centers, and we do all the wellness for Dow Chemical. So we had a huge tentacles that we could reach out to, and had the trainers come for free. They could get a great workout. They could meet new people there, potentially gain clients, but they would bring their clients with them to the class as well. So it's, you know, it's a win-win for us.
Yeah, back when I worked at for Lifetime Fitness, we actually did a pretty cool thing that is similar to what y'all are talking about, how, you know, there wasn't a lot of crossover between the people, you know, maybe on the fitness side and the people on the tennis side. Everybody kind of went to their separate corners of the club, and so we set up a tennis fitness challenge, and we just had people sign up, and then we divided them into teams, kind of like a waterfall, and then we had individual events. Like one was, you know, how far somebody could run on the treadmill for whatever, and you got to choose your person for that event. One was in the spin room, and it was for like, you know, 10 minutes. You chose who you wanted for that event to see how far they could go on the bike, and so I can't remember how many events there were, but it was really cool. And there were a couple of tennis events. A couple of them were like with serving, some of them with doubles, but anyway. From your team, you got to choose your event, and then people would cheer on their team, and it just was really cool because it created the camaraderie, and it got people socially together.
Sure.
And interested in other parts of the club that maybe they'd never even been in the spin room or whatever.
Right.
So it was a good event. Yes.
Has anybody that doesn't have a dedicated fitness room at their facility done anything similar? Tom?
I thought that, yeah, I didn't hear that.
Oh, okay. You know, we don't have one, and there was a period where we had a pro who was personally into working out himself. So what did he do? He set up a 6:30 a.m. boot camp class. That was essentially what you're talking about, but it wasn't weight related because we don't have that at our facility. And truthfully, I cannot attest to the quality of the workout product that he put on, but he was a successful tennis teacher, had a following, and so as it happened, he had a dozen ladies come out twice a week at 6:45, and they'd do 45 minutes of that, then they'd hit their tennis balls for 45 minutes, and they'd go take their kids to school. And it was a program that worked for as long as he was with me, and he took it with me, with him when he left to be a director someplace else. So that was an example of some programs. You know, the exciting thing that I wanted to tell you all about was not necessarily picking the right pond in my homage to Andy Griffith, because he talks about ponds and swimming, but I actually want to talk about surfing. Yeah, that's all right. So, not exactly, but surfing, of course, is a metaphor for our business and being a tennis pro. And one of the things that I wanted to point out, if you don't know this, is that surfing is difficult. But when you watch somebody that can surf, it doesn't look difficult because they can do it. And so I have met several tennis directors and not directors, tennis professionals, who are excellent surfers in my area. And the reason why I take them as the people that I like to see is if I meet Dan Beadle here, and Dan tells me all about the programming he runs and the things that he does, I can get a picture. But I don't know that I can always really, really see what he's telling me. Okay, I mean, I know Dan, so actually I can tell. But a lot of times I can't see. But if I go to a neighboring club and I see them in action, I know. And I say, oh, they know what they're doing. I saw one of y'all staff members teaching a class this morning. And I don't remember what it was, but they did now, but it made me run to their court to watch. And I think it was just how they were managing ball moving during a clinic that had a lot of action. And it was great. And I said, they're surfing. That's what somebody ought to do. There is a fella that some of you all know. He'd been in Atlanta for a long time. He was a college friend of mine named Ronnie Haas. And Ronnie Haas is up in Virginia now. But he has this club, and they started adding things like pickleball, things like platform tennis. And he told me, he said, you know, MJ, we had this stuff going on. And I realized that my question to him, of course, was, pickleball, platform tennis, is there any market for teaching in that? I mean, I get it, right? We want to get people involved in these things that are increasing in popularity. He said, well, there is now. He said, last week, we had our first platform tennis clinic. I said, tell me about that. He said, well, we advertised it for a couple weeks. They didn't know who was going to teach it, but on the morning of the clinic, I grabbed 2 of my guys and I said, come with me, we're going to teach a platform tennis clinic. And I went out and I taught a 1-hour class. And we had 6 ladies, and they said that was the best class they'd ever had in their life. And when they were done, one of his assistants said, Ronnie, that was awesome. How long have you been teaching platform tennis? And you know what he said? An hour. He was surfing. He had played platform tennis a few times before. He understands how to teach. He said, we have to generate this business. And that's what he did. He's a surfer. There's a fellow named Bob Spillman who's at the University Club in Memphis. Beautiful facility. And I showed up at their place the other day, and it was 11:15 on a Friday afternoon, or Friday morning, and 4 indoor courts almost just like this, 3 courts of ladies playing, which is great. Air conditioned, they want to be inside where they are. 1 court at the end had 12 kids that were there for the all-day morning camp, summertime, and there was 1 court of activity going on outside. And it was Bob teaching a lesson in 100 degrees. And I said, he's surfing. Because he wasn't looking for a way to not teach that lesson right then. At 12, everybody else would be done. But he had the lesson when the lesson wanted to be had. He didn't make the 12 kids go outside so that he could have his lesson inside where it was air conditioned. He just did it. And then he walked around and he took care of the facility because that's what he does. It was his place. And he said, MJ, this is the way you do it. Funny story, I met, Craig's not here anymore, is he? Craig and I got to talking about somebody that he's going to go meet this week, and I just met this fellow last Monday. I was in Florida visiting my dad, my parents, and they live in, the kind of retirement place where on this side you're looking at the ocean, and on this side you're going to play golf or tennis. And they walk around and they do their thing. And so I went out, and 7 clay courts, all in a row. Old, you can tell because the fences were old. It had above ground watering everywhere with PVC that had been glued and mended, but it looked fun. And I went to exercise because I try to exercise this much. So I walked, and since I had played golf poorly the day before and the golf course was closed, I said I'm going to walk the golf course this morning and look at all the places I hit bad shots. So I was walking. It took quite a while, but I was out there doing it. And as I went by the tennis courts the first time, it was 8 o'clock, and there was one 20-something-year-old pro out there doing the playing lesson with whoever the 60-year-old man was that wanted a workout, because that's what the 25-year-old pro does. He gets the playing lesson, and he's doing his thing. So I circled back around half hour or so later, and he was still doing his thing, and now there was another pro out there, and he was finishing grooming the courts for the morning. And had his collar turned up, had a hat, sunglasses, 40-ish. He was really looking the part. He put the line broom up, walked out to his Hummer in the parking lot, got something out, went out to the court and began to teach an advanced junior. And I said, oh, well, that's probably the guy. Because it seems like that's the guy. Well, then I went in and I started to do something in the fitness room. And while I was in there, I saw the 9 a.m. flood of 70-year-old and older coming to play tennis. 6 courts worth of them. Here they are. And then I see them go out and they're on the courts. And I saw an older gentleman with compression socks up to here, walked a little bit like this, had the black sunglasses that covered the whole face all the way around so that nothing could get in there, and he looked sort of honoring. And I said, that must be the guy who works in the shop. You know, the guy who works behind the desk and does whatever he's got to do, lifetime tennis enthusiast and all that kind of thing. And I said, okay, I'm getting the lay of this place. They've got it going on. So finished my workout, such as it was. Then I go to get my wife breakfast, because that's what I do. And as I was coming back through, it was 10:20, 10:25, and that man, the old guy, was standing out in the middle of the walkway area. And as the juniors were beginning to show up for academy, he was asking them, well, hey, how'd you do last weekend in Orlando? And then he asked this one, hey, how'd you do last weekend in Altamont Springs? As in he knew where they were, and he knew their names. And he was asking how they did, and I thought, well, that's okay. That's sort of interesting. And they were all politely speaking back to him, not just brushing by him. Oh, okay. And then they got ready to go out and do their juniors, and he was really just looking attentively over the whole place. I'm thinking, okay, what's he doing exactly? Well, then I realized what he was doing was surveying the courts to see which of his people that were still playing were going to continue to be playing even after the start of the academy got going, because he needed to know how to assign courts to the staff and the juniors so that the adults who are his base, who pay him to run that club, would still get to play and not feel infringed upon by the bread, which was the 28 kids that were there for academy. And so then it dawned on me. He's the guy. And he was an excellent surfer. His name's Kevin Quay, and he's down at Isla del Sol in St. Petersburg. And he then stood and talked to me for the next 20 minutes. And he wasn't mean at all. That was just what I thought when I saw him walking around. And he continued to talk, and there was nothing pretentious about him. He just was explaining how to surf at his club. That's how it works. And I think that for all of the things we do, we can overlook the value of somebody that knows how to surf. Because there are a lot of folks out there who have had jobs for 20 years or more who can't surf. It would not have occurred to them, even if they've been there a long time, how to set courts up, how to handle no-shows in a group, how to get people that don't like playing together to play together, to do the things that most of us do all the time. And I think that as we look at, well, okay, what's longevity and success? This guy got to telling me how his world works. And he said, I show up every morning at 7:30. I make the lineup for these people to play. I get them out there to play. He said, you know who the most important person in this group is? Oh, wait, sorry. I asked him, how come you do it every morning? Do you not have one of the players themselves in the group, or one of your staff does it? And he said, no. He said, I tried. He said, I tried a lot. He said, they don't do it on purpose, but the staff always seems to cater to the best players here. And they're missing it. The most important person here is the worst player. The worst player here has to have as good a time as everybody else. And all the best players here, they have to understand that they're all going to get a time once playing with the worst player, and that's how it goes here. And what he said was, when I arrived, that was not the culture. So what did the good surfer do when he got to the pond that he wanted to be in? He had to change the culture. So now he gets to be where he wants to be, doing what he really loves, which is not setting up the retirement people's games. What he really loves at 60-something is those ranked junior players. And you knew it because that's when the smile came. And that's when the real engagement came out on the court with kids that seemed much out of his range. And he had pros doing the heavy lifting. He wasn't even running the whole show, but he was enjoying being in it. He was enjoying contributing where he could. And why did he get to do that? Because he understood how to run his club. So we started this with, how do I achieve longevity and success? You gotta learn to surf, because that's what happens. I'm sure he's wiped out a few times, and he didn't tell me that, but he knows how to run his club, and that was what he did. And that enabled him to do what made him happy, which I thought was great. When he told me that his average get-home time is 8:30 at night, and he's over 60, I had Jenny's response right there. I said, that doesn't match me. I want to be home at 4:30 to see my family, have dinner, and then go back out for college practice. So I don't want to run the junior program. I want to be like the principal that comes in when there's a teacher sick, and you get to have some influence, and they go, hey, look at that, the principal came in today. Yeah. But I don't want to be the main one running the show. It doesn't match what I want to do. It wouldn't be the right pond for me. I want to quickly go over a handful of, these were MJ's rules for surfing, and I had a couple of them that I wanted to point out because they are intentionally different from some others. And one of them was, when it comes to scheduling courts, I have a respect now that I didn't used to have, because I've talked to enough people who I value their opinions, that when they told me they have a different philosophy than me, I said, okay. But it took me a long time to accept this. I talked to guys that go to new clubs, and several times, one of the first things they've told me is, yes, I love it here because they let us schedule our private lessons first. And to me, that's just horrible. That just screams at me, that's not member service, that's not member value. But I talked to enough people enough times that have clubs and jobs that I respect, that I know that I'm coming over to the side of, well, I understand what you mean. Although most often, I always think that it ought to be your programs first, and then your members, and then your privates. Because if you're a good enough private instructor, they're going to come when you have courts available. And that's one of the ways that it shows your value. And some of these men that I've talked to, it hasn't been a woman in this case, one of the main reasons they lost the jobs they were at, they weren't providing member value. They weren't satisfying who they needed to satisfy to be able to work. So that's one that I think is really important, that membership part comes first. I think serve your staff is a big deal. The timing of when you teach and how much you teach, you may all have different ideas of how much you like to teach. I'm a morning guy, so if I had the absolute perfect morning, I would show up for a 7 o'clock lesson, and I would get baskets of balls out for my staff that's going to teach also. Now, I can't do it every morning because I might run behind. But how great is it when Dan shows up to teach a lesson on the court next to me, and there's already a basket of balls out on his court? He had never got a basket of balls out for me, but I get the basket of balls out for him. It lets him know that I know he's working, and that I can do a little bit of something for him on his behalf. So to serve him in that way would be great. But then I want to finish my next lesson, 8 to 9, at the same time that the primary group of people showing up. Because I want to be able to wave at them as they come in and say, how you doing? It's great to see you today. Really glad you're here. And cycle through the people as they arrive, because that makes people happy. Don't they want to hear you know their name and say hey and greet them and all? So even if you're not a director someplace, even if you're a head pro, assistant pro, any kind of instructor, whether it's a private or a public place, those are two things that you can do regardless. Just, sure, I did that for you. And if it goes unnoticed, you're probably in the wrong place. Because it ought to go noticed. People should go, oh, that was great. Thank you for doing that. And the last thing that I want to leave you with is always blame others. Always blame others. Blame others for your successes. Blame yourself for your failures. All right? In fact, you can blame yourself if you have staff. You can blame yourself for your staff's failures. one of the highest profile junior coaches to leave the South and go to Texas in the last few years, came and worked with me for a little while. And I love him, and he's phenomenal. He is a high-performance junior coach, and he's great. Well, I got a big gig at a private school, kind of had 6 courts and $20,000 for tuition, and they had enough money to spend, and they asked me to come provide classes, and I said, I'll do it. You got it. So we showed up, and they had one criteria. They said, MJ, you have to be present at all times, whether you teach the classes or not. You have to be here because we are a Christian school and we need somebody on your staff available that can share the gospel if that's needed. And I said, okay, I'm your man. So I had that end covered. However, I had my stud teacher there. We had 23 kids signed up in the middle school program and 12 signed up in the elementary colors program. And we go out there to do our thing. And did you ever teach in that group? Okay. So my red ball class and orange ball class had growth because it was fun. And they were doing what the red and orange people do, and there it went. My classes started out with 23, maybe even 28 kids in the middle school that had this high-performance sergeant come in. I laughed as I heard him explain to them that they weren't going to get to play around the world and they weren't going to get to play the other things that won't make them better. And he wasn't wrong, but he was missing his market. He missed his target. And inside of weeks, that class was a dozen. And those dozen were just the ones that were finishing out the string because their parents wouldn't let them quit. And that was the last time he taught that group, that session for me. But you know whose fault that was? It was mine. It wasn't his. He's phenomenal. I just put him in the wrong market. So that's his fault, not my fault. So anyway, things that we go over would be blame others. Right? Blame others for your successes, blame yourself for your failures. Serve your staff or serve others. And know how to serve. That's what we want to do. Anyway, thank you very much for letting me share this today.